Hi, I'm Caitlyn Lennox. I'm a Programs and Services Coordinator at Alzheimer's New Jersey. I'm going to talk to you today about normal age-related changes in memory and learning and how that compares to dementia. But before I start, I want to give you a little bit of information about who we are at Alzheimer's New Jersey. So we are an independent, statewide nonprofit organization, and our goal and mission is to provide support and resources for individuals who are impacted by Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. And we do this in a number of ways. We have our helpline. That number is 888-280-6055. And that's a great number to keep on hand if you have questions after this presentation is over. We also have our caregiver support groups. Those are held both virtually and in person. We also have our no-cost educational programming. So we present on different topics related to dementia each week on a virtual webinar. And then finally, we have our respite care and wellness program. This program is designed for caregivers to plant the seed of how important it is for caregivers to take time outside of caregiving, to replenish and rejuvenate, and then be able to come back to that caregiving role. And that program comes with a one-time $1,000 scholarship that can be used for qualified respite care expenses. So again, if you're interested in any of those programs or want to learn more, please feel free to reach out to our helpline. So now I'm going to dig in and start talking about normal age-related changes in memory and learning. And as I'm sure we all know, there are changes that happen to us physically as we age. So we may notice that our hearing is changing, our vision is changing, our bones may not be as dense, our heart may not pump as efficiently, and the same holds true for our memory and learning. So we may find that we aren't able to remember new or unfamiliar names as easily as we were before, or that it takes us a little bit longer to solve new or complex problems. But we have strategies that we implement to make things a little bit easier for us, and we know that we can continue to live our lives functionally even with some of those minor changes in memory and learning. Now, this is different from dementia, so I want to talk to you a little bit about what dementia is. So dementia is termed a major neurocognitive disorder. So what does that mean? Well, first it means that dementia is not a normal part of aging. So again, I want to reiterate that. Dementia is not an inevitability. It is not a normal part of aging, although it does become more common as we age. So what is it? It's a loss of cognitive functioning and a loss of behavioral abilities that are severe enough to impact our day-to-day life and our activities. So to reiterate, in normal or typical aging, those changes really don't impact our day-to-day life. In dementia, those cognitive and behavioral changes will significantly impact our day-to-day life and activities. And we're going to see cognitive decline in different cognitive domains like memory, communication, emotional regulation, and some other cognitive domains as well that we're going to talk about now. So what I'd like to do is go through an area of concern. Then I'll talk about what it might look like in normal or typical aging, and then compare that to what it looks like in dementia. So let's start off first with orientation. So our ability to orient ourselves to who we are, where we are, and the time that we're in. So as we may find, sometimes we forget the date, right? We don't know what date it is today, and if we need to know, we turn on our phone and take a look at that. We turn on the radio, we turn on the TV, we ask someone. So we're able to find or retrieve that information without too much trouble. So that's going to be what orientation or disorientation looks like in normal or typical aging. What we see in dementia, however, is that someone may have a lot of difficulty identifying the day of the week, the season, the month, the president, and they're not able to find that information and implement strategies to help them get that information. So that's a little bit about orientation. Let's talk a little bit about communication. So in normal or typical aging, we should be able to functionally communicate our wants, our needs, our thoughts, our opinions without too much trouble. We may have times where we have that tip of the tongue moment where we can't quite remember what it is that we want to get to. But what we do is we talk around what we want to say and ultimately get our point across. What we see in dementia, however, is that someone's going to have significant decline in their ability to communicate as the disease progresses. So we'll see that they're having difficulty finding the words they want to use. They'll have difficulty being able to take those words and put them into cohesive sentences, being able to follow conversations, being able to follow instructions. So I hear from a lot of caregivers who will say, the person I'm caring for just doesn't listen to me. They don't follow what I'm saying. They're ignoring me. Well, in reality, what it may be is that they're not able to process or comprehend the things that are being said to them. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well in terms of an area of concern. Now let's talk about judgment. So our ability to make sound decisions. So as we age, typically, unfortunately, we are more vulnerable to scams, and that's to no fault of our own. Unfortunately, there are more people out there who are trying to scam older adults. What we see in dementia, however, is that someone with dementia will be more susceptible to giving excessive amounts of money to solicitors. That's really damaging to their financial health. So making those decisions is really challenging. We may also see that someone isn't able to recognize a dangerous situation. So the person may be walking on the side of a very busy street and not recognizing the danger that that poses. So that's a little bit about judgment. Now let's talk about mental tasks. So our ability to really problem solve. In typical or normal aging, we should really be able to continue to solve problems as we normally would, although we are human beings, and so we're going to make an error here and there just like everyone will. So if we make a mistake when we're making a recipe and we forget a step, or we have a little bit of difficulty and make an error when we're balancing our checkbook, it happens. What we see in dementia, however, when it comes to mental tasks, is that someone may have a lot of difficulty with something like money management. And I hear from a lot of caregivers that that's really the first inkling that something is going on. The person who is very vigilant and diligent about their finances, who now is overpaying bills, underpaying bills, etc. So that is a little bit about mental tasks. I want to talk a little bit now about completing activities of daily living. So when we talk about activities of daily living, we mean things like bathing, dressing, toileting, eating, all of those things we need to do to care for ourselves. In normal or typical aging, we may see that we forget to rinse our toothbrush. We forget to put on deodorant. Right? We have those moments of human error. But what we see in dementia is that someone may have a lot of difficulty recognizing an appropriate use for an item. So the person may have a bowl of soup in front of them, and instead of using the spoon, they're using a fork or a knife to eat that. Or they're looking at a toothbrush, and instead of using that to brush their teeth, they're using that to clean the sink. So that's another piece of the puzzle here. And then I want to talk a little bit about memory. So as we know, as I said earlier, we're human beings, and as we age, it may be more difficult for us to remember things like new or unfamiliar names. That happens. But what we might see in dementia is that someone is not remembering very familiar names, a name that they've known for years and years. We may also see that someone with dementia is forgetting to take their medication, forgetting to turn off the stove. And both of those things, as we know, can significantly impact someone's safety and their ability to perform day-to-day tasks. And then finally, we're going to talk about mood and personality. So as we age, Sometimes we're increasingly fatigued or irritated by a change in our routine. So if we were going to have dinner 10 minutes away and those reservations were changed to somewhere that's 45 minutes away, we might be a little more irritated by that, but we're able to manage that and be able to deal with that the way that we can and shift our mindset. What we see in dementia, however, is that a very small change or disturbance in someone's routine can really disrupt their mood and personality. So if their breakfast arrives 30 minutes later than usual, if there's a doctor's appointment that day, the person may become increasingly irritated, agitated, frustrated, overwhelmed, and we may see some changes in personality and see some paranoia, some aggression, some agitation, and things like that. So now what we've done is we've covered normal age-related changes in memory and learning, and we have then compared that to what dementia looks like. So now let's talk a little bit about what you can do if you have some concerns for yourself or a loved one with memory and learning changes. So we encourage you to make an appointment with your primary care physician and prepare for that appointment. And part of that is going to be sharing these concerns with someone that you trust, and perhaps that person can accompany you to the appointment to be that next level of support for you. Other ways we encourage you to prepare is to write down all of the symptoms that you're experiencing. This can be all of the symptoms regardless of whether you think they're related to your memory and learning changes, so that the doctor can take all of those puzzle pieces and be able to help you the best way. We also encourage you to write down any big events that have happened, any big life stressors that have happened, again, to help the doctor put all those puzzle pieces together. In addition, writing down any relevant personal medical history or any relevant family history, whether that is a history of diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, dementia. We want to give that information to the doctor as well. And then also bringing with you written down all of your medications and supplements and the doses. Now, that is going to help the doctor to make sure that they can rule out any medication side effects or any medication interactions that may be contributing to these cognitive concerns that you have. So, again, I want to encourage you, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you want to learn more about the disease, please feel free to reach out to our helpline. Our number at Alzheimer's New Jersey is 888-280-6055, and we'd be happy to help you any way that we can. You can also check out our website at alznj.org. Again, I'm Caitlyn Lennox. I'm a Programs and Services Coordinator at Alzheimer's New Jersey, and thank you so much for your time.